Today I want to share with you from what is probably one of my 10 favorite chapters in the entire Bible. That's a pretty significant thing to say, isn't it? Imagine if you had to come up with what's your top 10 list of the 10 greatest chapters in the Bible for you. For me, Isaiah chapter 40 is one of them. Isaiah chapter 40 starts a section that runs from Isaiah 40 through Isaiah 55, which scholars call the Book of Consolation. And it starts with 11 verses that George Friedrich Handel made well known in his Messiah of announcing God's coming to the people. God's coming to rescue the people who have been in exile and to lead them back to Jerusalem. And I really want to encourage you to read Isaiah 40. Read that chapter, even if you're not reading all the way through the Bible. Read that chapter in its entirety. Because the first 11 verses about preparing the way of the Lord, and we know that, we associate that with the ministry of John the Baptist. The gospel writers reference those verses from Isaiah 40, 1 to 11, and saying who John the Baptist is and what he is doing in preparing the way for the Messiah who is Christ. And then in verses 12 through 31 of Isaiah chapter 40, we have these magnificent verses about God as the creator of the entire universe. And I encourage you to read these verses out loud. It's remarkable to think how small and tiny and insignificant each human life is compared to the vastness of God's created universe. And yet, as you go to the end of the chapter, after God has said these magnificent things, to whom then will you compare me, or who is my equal, says the Holy One. And then God invites us to lift up our eyes and look at the night sky and to think about the God who brings out the whole heavenly host of the stars and the planets and knows them all by name. And I want to read the last verses of the chapter. After all that God has said and done, it says, "Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted." But our verse of the day, Isaiah 40:31, "But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." This is the study Bible that I have been using for over 25 years. And guess what verse is on the cover of my Bible? Isaiah 40, verse 31. It's really been kind of a life verse for me for most of my life now. The idea that the God who created the entire universe is also a God of comfort, and the God who knows every star by name knows your name. And when we wait for him, when we lean into God, God will strengthen and renew you. Praise God for the God of Isaiah chapter 40.